if this does not get published, we are breaking your kneecaps. So you better finish this. And so I did. That's kind of me in a nutshell, like autistic survivor, writer, person that fell into writing by accident. It's terrifying that I'm a published author, but at the same time, I'm glad my story is out there because I'm not the only one that's gone through this. And I hope someone picks it up or someone else picks it up and realizes that A, they're not alone, and B, the way out is possible. It's not going to be easy, but it's definitely worth it.
Devon Taylor, Devon Taylor, Devon Taylor, Devon Taylor, Devon Taylor podcast.
Guys, and welcome to another episode of the Devon Taylor podcast, where we have guests from all around the world tell their unique and powerful stories to not only allow their voice to be heard, but for you to leave feeling inspired. Some stories don't begin with clarity, they begin with survival. They start in silence, in masking, and learning how to exist in spaces that were never built with you in mind. And sometimes, the bravest thing a person can do isn't moving forward loudly. It's choosing to stay. Today's conversation explores trauma, neurodivergence, identity, and what it means to rebuild a life after everything you used to rely on falls away. My guest is a writer whose journey spans continents, cultures, and internal landscapes. Someone who has learned how to name pain without letting it define him, and how telling the truth can become an act of reclamation. He's the author of Now That I'm Still Here. So I'm happy to welcome to the show Christopher Carazas. Hello.
Hi. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, thank you for being here. I'm really excited for you to share your story. Author to author, I love when I have authors on here to kind of share their inspiration as to why they chose to write their book. But really, I want to start with your background, just with your story. I read a little bit about it, but I'd love for you to tell the audience so they can kind of have an idea of who you are.
Yeah. So, as you said, my name is Chris. I've had your traditional upbringing of I'm American. I sound American, but I grew up overseas most of my life. I speak 5 languages thanks to that kind of exposure. And I grew up autistic, not really knowing I had it till I was in my mid-30s. I was 35 when I got diagnosed. And I always felt a little different, socially awkward. Things that didn't seem to bother other people really bothered me, like the sound of chewing or the fluorescent lighting. It really bothered me. But I learned to kind of cope and appear normal. I didn't have a word for it till I got diagnosed with autism. I had all my life I was masking, and essentially that means really camouflaging and appearing normal despite how different you feel. And it wasn't until I got diagnosed where I finally had a name for everything that was going on inside me. But it also opened up another door, something that was a little bit more sinister. Almost immediately, my mother-in-law at the time started saying things like, "Hey, great, you're autistic. You're an embarrassment. You are shameful to the family. You should divorce my daughter. And better yet, why don't you kill yourself?" Not as a joke, kind of a thing. Seriously, because the world doesn't need another autistic person, another embarrassment. And then the wife joined. on that. And about 3 years of hearing that. And I wish this was hubris, my friend. But it was every day for 3 years. And it really warped the way I saw the world, right? I I began to believe it. I'm a two-time attempt survivor. It wasn't until after the second attempt where I came clean to my sister. And after some finagling, she came and got me, and I ended up getting help for that. I call it the great deprogramming, right? And on one hand, I'm glad I did it. Um, and on the other hand, like, I'm really glad I did it, right? Because now I can help others. Like, it's for a while I didn't want to share my story. Um, at least that part of, you know, attempting suicide twice and getting the help, because that brought in a stigma. That brings in a stigma, right? And the fact that I was in a psych ward for a little bit, that brings a stigma too. And so I was like, okay, I'm now that she's out of my life, and I've gotten the help, I'm not going to say anything to anybody. It wasn't until I met a girl about 6 months later. No, it was 4 months later, after leaving the hospital. I was just walking my dog around the apartment complex. I saw someone I knew sitting by the pool, talking to a cute girl, and I thought, oh, like, you'll say hi to that cute girl over there, and I have a good excuse. I know the friend, and so that conversation. Little did I know that conversation was gonna change my life forever. Right? Uh, we The conversation that was supposed to last like 10 minutes because she had to go ended up being a 3-hour conversation. Next thing I know, a few days later, we're celebrating the 4th of July, and she was like, hey, why don't you kiss me already? And, we started dating. I wasn't ready to date, because I wasn't ready. I didn't feel like I had healed enough yet, to be my best self for someone else, right? And I always thought about it as, if it's like, it's true what they said in airplanes when you're on them, right? Like, in change of cabin pressure, in the case of cabin pressure change, the mask will fall down. Put it on yourself first before you help others.
Right.
And so I took that seriously, and um, so because I wasn't ready, I was a little bit difficult to love. I was projecting a lot. Um, but even so, our life was full. She loved me anyway. She didn't care I was autistic. In fact, she was like, who cares? Let's go ride go-karts now, and let's go sing karaoke. Um, it wasn't until she got sick, in March of 2024, where I began writing. It was, we didn't know if she was going to make it or not, so I started writing. I wanted her to know why I was so. She had an idea, um, but she didn't know the full extent of it, and I wanted her to know. And it's like, it was my way of saying, like, here, I'll tell you my full story, and then when you get out of this hospital, like, I really want to be my best self for you. And I got about 18 chapters in. That was her chapter. She passes away.
Wow.
And like, I was devastated. We had only been dating for about 8 months. And I thought that was done. Like I was like, there's no point in sharing this story till my sister read my stuff and was like, "Bro, this is really good." I'm like, I looked at it with kind of like, "You're cute. You're my sister. You're supposed to say that, right?" Um, and she's like, "No, it's really good. This is me telling you as a non-reader. It's really good." I'm like, I just lost my lady. I get it. You're just being too kind, but no, it's not that good. And she told me, "Oh, share it with my mother-in-law and her sister. There's a publishing background there." And um, so I was like, "Fine, I'll like if this is gonna get you off my back, I'll share it with them." And the response I got back was, "If this does not get published, we are breaking your kneecaps. So you better finish this."
Motiv-
And so I did. Like, that's kind of me in a nutshell. Like um, autistic survivor, writer, person that fell into writing by accident.
I love it. I absolutely love it. First, I want to say condolences for the woman you lost. That's truly sad. I'm so sorry for that, and I know death can definitely make us see life in a completely different way. Uh, but I would love just to go back, to when you said you got diagnosed. And something that was really that stuck out to me was you got diagnosed later in life. Was
Mhm.
there a moment that made you feel like, you know what, I need to do this, or was it just something that had happened when you got diagnosed?
So here's the irony, right? Um, Around 2016, my then wife did a career change. She went from we both had the same career in international development, so we were working with nonprofits, doing work overseas, and so she shifted from that to um, being a special educator. I think it was like her fifth day at class. She comes back to the apartment and says, "Hey, Chris, why don't you? I think you might be autistic. Why don't you get tested?" Now, the ignorant side of me at the time said this: "No, I am not the Rain Man, right? Like, I have a job. Like, I have a dog. I drive. I like." No, I am not autistic. I'm a little weird. I'm quirky. Uh, but like, no. And for years, she kept insisting, right? We're on the pandemic, sends me or gets me these autism quotient scale things. And I took three of them. I scored the first time, I think it was a 33, then a 37, and a 36, which is kind of like on the minimum threshold is 30. Then I took some more because I was like, this can't be real. So it was pretty much in the same cluster. And I'm a data guy. And I was like, okay, these numbers, I guess, mean something. And so I was like, okay, I'll go get tested. 4 years had spanned, right? Uh, yeah. So it was that kind of moment of her kind of pushing that I get tested. And the reason I say it's ironic is because she then weaponized it against me, right? And kind of is annoying, but I'm grateful I got diagnosed because I understand myself a lot better.
Right. And I think that's one of the most important parts of your story is understanding just who you are that much more deeper, it really does come down to, like even at a brain level, everyone is so vastly different. And when we have that knowledge, I feel like it helps us make better decisions. It even helps
Mhm.
you in the situation that you had to face when it came to the reaction you got. And obviously, my first thought is, what was your reaction when they were, not supportive and not loving? But I'm sure anyone could guess. But um,
My first reaction was, at least to when things first started with them, was, why, not now that there's that label, why is it an issue? Because obviously I'm providing for your daughter. Mm, she, and mind you, at at when I got diagnosed, we had just bought our first home, right? And I'm like, we own a house, we have like two cars, right? Um, I I bought her a $15,000 service dog because she was diabetic, or still is, and like, like, I'm clearly providing for your daughter and wanting the best for her, and I, supported through her through all these things, and I will continue to do so. Why is the autism label an issue, right? And well, she got upset at that, and then took it out uh on my wife. And why did you talk to my mom that way? I'm like, why is she talking to me that way? It's like, it would be the equivalent. And mind you, uh, she's half African from Madagascar, and I was like, it'd be the equivalent of my parents coming to you and saying, you know, you are, and throwing racial slurs at you and saying, like, my son should not be married to someone like you. How would you feel? What would you say? And it turned to, she's my last surviving parent. How dare you? And and then you get tired of fighting, and then I was started thinking, like, maybe I'm just being too sensitive, and
I hear that.
it that was the key that got me to stop fighting and stop resisting, and started internalizing everything that they were saying.
Hmm. Wow, and it's it seems like it's not as easy as it is to fall into that trend of like internalizing it, and that's so easy to do when you think about it, because it's probably the safest option in most cases. Not causing an argument or just kind of giving in, and um, I sympathize with you on that, and I'm glad that you were able to find the strength to get out of that, because not a lot of people do. Um, but I want to kind of go to your book now. I love the title, Now That I'm Still Here. But I kind of wanted you to dive in. Why did you choose that title?
It's a funny title. As I was writing the last chapter, I had two versions of like the ending, right? Um, but the common theme was kind of like having it be a reflection of, like, I'm in a different space March 2024 than I was I'm in a different space March 2025 than I was March 2024, right? In just a year, like, I was like just getting out of a psych ward, and in an intense outpatient treatment program, uh, and really not wanting to live. And 2025, okay, I lost I lost my girlfriend and my job on the same day, uh, and it wasn't through a fault of my own. It was Elon Musk deciding that USAID was no longer a thing. So like, in one day, 15,000 of us lost our jobs, right? But I'm okay. Despite these challenges, like, I'm okay. but I'm not like fully healed yet,
No.
right? But I'm not there. I'm not where I was just a year ago. Now what? Like, now that I'm still here, where do I go? Because healing, like, healing is not linear. Healing sucks. It's messy. But what's it gonna look like moving forward? Because like I'm so much better now. Now what? And so it came from that reflection.
Mm. And after writing the book, do you feel what do you feel now that the book is out, now that it's been published? How does it feel to, be a published author?
It's still terrifying. It came out in September. Um, it's terrifying on one hand because the subject matter is very sensitive. It's very raw, right? Of abuse, masking, autism, the effects from that. It's very raw. And so that part terrifies me, is sharing that part of the world, or sharing that part of me with the world. But something interesting happened. I wrote the book in a coffee shop nearby. I didn't want to write it in my house on purpose, uh, because I knew I was gonna go in deep, and being not at home would help me hold it together long enough to write a complete sentence. Um, so I was talking to two kids, and I call them kids, but they're in their 20s. They're younger. I'm 41 now, and so to me they're kids. Uh, and I was pre-signing some books for an event, and they're like, "Oh, did you write this book?" I'm like, "Yeah, I did." "Oh, what's it about?" And I told them, and they're like, they bought two copies, right? There was a lady that came in that she had bought my book the month before, and she heard me talking to these kids, and she came up and she said, um, "You're not you're not gonna be disappointed. This book helped me stay," right?
Mm.
And I gave the lady a hug, um, but for me, it was a defibrillator to my soul. Oh, cute cat.
Yeah.
Sorry.
When he
um,
starts to feel the conversation, he starts to join, so it's so funny.
yeah, my dog's over there. Anyway, it was a defibrillator to my soul, right? Because at that point, I realized like this story isn't mine anymore, right? It it really, not very many people get to hear firsthand the what you intended the book to do, right? I wanted the book to help one person stay, right? And there she was, right? Uh, telling me like this book's helped me, and I wonder how many of those are there, right? And so it's terrifying that I'm a published author, but at the same time, like, I'm glad my story is out there because I'm not the only one that's gone through this. And I hope someone picks it up, or someone else picks it up and realizes that A, they're not alone, and B, that um like a way out is possible. Um it's not going to be easy, um but it's definitely worth it.
And I mean, obviously, that's mission accomplished right there, to see someone say exactly why you wrote the book. But what is that? How does that make you feel? I mean, obviously, a lot of things, but um, just because I feel it's so important to really note that, because I know exactly what you're talking about.
Like, the first couple times I talked about it, about that moment, I like choked up a lot. Um And like I it was just a like I was amazed that it helped someone stay. I wasn't like I thought it was just a fleeting moment of hope that it's gonna help someone, and I was like, "Oh, you're just being too callow and naive, Chris," you know, like, um, and it so I genuinely mean it when I say it was a defibrillator to my soul. It I was my bar was low on on the impact I thought I was gonna have, and it's just one, just like shocked me back and just like made me gasp. Like literally, I gasped when she said that. Like, so I don't know. It's hard to put into words the feeling. It other than it really felt like an electric jolt to my entire nervous system.
Well, that's powerful, and I'm so glad you got to see that reflection because I don't think people realize how much it takes emotionally to write something, to put something out there, and then something personal like you're doing, like you did. So kudos to you, and that I feel like that's God, the universe, whatever you believe in, their way of showing you, the purpose that you had in writing that. It comes full circle. So um,
I
yeah,
am not a hugger. I don't like physical contact very much. Um, and that's the autism part that comes out. I gave that lady the biggest hug in the world when she said that.
I bet. No, that's so beautiful. I'm glad she came to you and said that. That's so cool.
Yeah.
So
It
when
was
people go ahead, I'm sorry.
I I guess it was just meant to be, that
Yeah.
kind of interaction.
Absolutely, I feel you'll have more of that too, because I'm a firm believer when you share in such a personal way, um, especially in a book, people have a way of connecting with you and your story and kind of um, not only seeing you in those situations, but seeing themselves. I'm sure she could relate to a lot of the situation you were in because even as you were telling me your story and kind of the situations you've been through, I know of friends that have been in similar situations that had to get out and find themselves after being in such tumultuous relationships. And even myself, I've been in relationships that have completely changed who I am today. And I wish at the time when I was going through them, I would have wrote some of what I was going through because I feel like in a way it was kind of therapy for you. Do you feel that way?
One part, yeah. Um, it was really an arduous process to get it on paper, and that it was one of the reasons why I couldn't write it here on my own, in my own space, right? Because I was afraid of what might happen, right? I I was just so nascent in my healing process that um I thought it was gonna trigger me to and go back into that negative space. And so and coupled with that, I like I am I looked at it as writing a confession to a woman I loved, still do by the way. But and like I don't know how much longer I have her. Like if she was like it was I was falling apart on that end because I didn't know if she was gonna stay with us or not. And at the same time, I'm writing about literally the darkest moment of my life, right? And what was I guess therapy for me, and I guess the way I structured the book, I did it on purpose, right? Um, I wanted people to see how I grew up autistic and the challenges I faced internally, especially in like high school and in college and the start of my career. Part and mixed in that like how it got weaponized in my marriage, and then the middle section was I think the most therapeutic because I wrote about things that were good in my life. That my life was not all terrible, right? Um, and I just had a very terrible moment in time, right? Um, and I think that was the piece that was most therapeutic was writing of the it forced me to see the good I had in my life. Like, I talked about uh, a girlfriend I had that called me on my shit when on my stuff
Right.
when I was um, going through a period in my life where I was like not going to class and failing school. I almost failed out of school, and she smacked me around a little bit and said, "Don't be stupid." And and she believed in me and really said you're brilliant, and if you don't finish school, like you're not going to inspire anybody. You're not going to be living up to your potential. So stop this, and
No.
to another girlfriend I had that taught me to stay and to be okay with myself, to the neighborhood I grew up here in Massachusetts, in how supportive a supportive environment I had, and um, so it kind of forced me to see the good that I had and gave me hope that maybe I will see good again because I've seen it before. So yeah, that part was the therapy part.
Yeah. I mean, and I really wanted to ask too, how were you able to get through the hard parts? And I know you were going through so much. Um, what pushed you through those parts? Obviously, the therapeutic part was, easy to write, but
Lots of coffee. um, no, I mean there were the hardest chapters I wrote literally took me like 3 or 4 days, like per chapter, and not like I'd be sitting in a coffee shop, like I'd write a paragraph and I'd just have to stop because there was just so much I want like I had to like hold back tears, and I'm just sitting there like looking around like, don't lose it, Chris. You're in public, and an hour or two would go by, and I'd write another paragraph, another page, and then same kind of thing. And um, the thing, the thing that I ultimately, I guess, pushed me through was like, she needs to know, right? So, like, she could be gone tomorrow. She could be gone a month from now. I want her to know. Um, hopefully she stays, and hopefully we can talk about it together. Um, so I think that was the main motivation of like the perceived scarcity of time that ultimately pulled me through.
and as someone that's written something that's so personal, for anyone that is thinking of becoming a writer, um, would you suggest them to write something that tells their story? Because my platform is a lot about hearing stories that you normally wouldn't hear, um, because I feel we all have a voice. I feel we all should share it, but a lot of people don't feel called to share what they've been through. What do you believe? Do you believe we should, embrace our past and allow people in and be able to connect from that and kind of build from there? Or do you think people should not share their stories if they're not, in a place to?
I really think you should be able to have a maybe maybe not necessarily have it be a book. It could be little essays. It could be I personally think share those stories because A, it'll help you. I remember when I each chapter, the weight of what and the crap that I went through just felt lighter, right? Write it out, right? Like have it be a journal entry. You could pop on Substack and not even have the world see it, right? You could do it for you, but so you'll notice that it makes things a little bit more tolerable. Now, if you're going to share it, be prepared to be terrified,
Yeah.
right? But I say that in the best way, right? Um, because you don't know how people are going to react to your story, right? And it's actually really scary to put your personal stuff out there. What are people going to think, right? Um, but I think that there's a little bravery, or people will be more thankful that you shared your story than not, and they'll learn from you, right? It is so satisfying to hear things like, your book helped me stay, um, or like, I understand my son better now, because of his autism and his struggles, or um, so you don't. The stupidest voices are often the loudest,
Mhm.
right? And um, I would say ignore the criticism. More often than not, you'll get a lot more support by sharing your story, and like, and that's how we've survived as a species,
Yeah.
is by sharing our stories. So that's what I believe. Like I want to learn from others too, right? Um, and I've connected on with other writers on Substack, and like, how do I manage grief uh, from losing someone I care about? I connected with a awesome gentleman who lost his wife to suicide, and then subsequently his daughter, right? And so I got to learn a little bit about that, like the impacts of what suicide has on the family. And you know, I wouldn't have known that had he not shared, right? And so you never know how your story's gonna the positive impact your story's gonna have.
Were you afraid of, when this book came out, of anyone in particular reading it?
Not necessarily afraid, concerned. Um, like I don't know if my ex-wife and her family are gonna read it, right? Um, I hope that they do. Um, to kind of they could see the impact that's had on me. And my concern was, like, what they've advocated for my for my demise, what are they going to do to me next, right? And a huge part of me was like, well, who cares, right? Um, I I I think the last laugh is on me, right? You know, is that the proper way to say that sentence? Um, I think uh, there there is a sense of satisfaction from my side that to understand, to know that the world knows what they've done and that they have to reckon with that, right? And will they? I don't know. Hmm. Should they? Probably. But I mean, that's the part that's made me a little concerned. Like, I'm still thankful I did it. It wasn't done out of malice. It wasn't done out of like, look at what you did to me, and
Yeah.
you're gonna pay. I think that there's that reasoning is probably on page 6 under "Are we eating too much garlic as a people?" Right? And it's more of, here's my story. Here's what I want to have happen. I want people to see themselves in it, see the strength that comes from standing up to whatever you're going through and overcoming it.
I think that's what I was exactly going to say was it's your story essentially. It's what you went through. And I think a lot of people that have stories similar to yours would feel apprehensive about telling their story because of how the other person may feel. But at the end of the day, I think your intention is to help others. And I think that's what truly matters and shines above anything anyone can say about it. So, um, I'm grateful you went through and you made the book. But I only have a few more questions before I let you go.
Oh, I can answer 30 of them.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
I know. I was like, I don't want to keep it too long, but I love this conversation, and I think it's really essential because there's a lot of dichotomy within the autistic world, and I think even within it, a lot of people don't speak about the negatives that um, people with autism face, and just hearing some of what you went through is not only shocking, but it's kind of scary because I have an autistic daughter, and um, a part of my fear is when she has to go out into the world, the kind of people that she will meet, and how will they treat her because of her autism. And I think it's important to know that some people feel really strongly in a negative way about people that have autism, and um, we should at least be prepared and have an understanding of that, and know that it's there so that you know how to navigate around it. Um, but also, after you wrote your book, obviously, you speak about healing a lot. I wanted to kind of ask, how has that healing journey for you changed since you first began, kind of going on this road?
Oh, it's I wouldn't necessarily say it's changed per se. I would say it I guess change and evolve are essentially the same thing, right? Um the the annoying thing I found in going through the psych ward and the intensive outpatient treatment program is how rosy and linear they paint healing. Like, you do this, and voila, you're healed, right? Um, and here are the tools like cognitive behavioral therapy and this and that. Do these things and you will be fine. What it doesn't really prepare you for is, well, where I get upset about is that it's not a straight line at all. And I guess that's to answer your question. That's what's changed in my healing process, right? It as much as I want it to be a straight line, because that's how my brain thinks. It's you take one step forward today, tomorrow it'll be 3 steps back. But you might take 4 steps the next day and 7 steps back. But, you know, progress should have that upward trend,
Yeah.
right? And it often does, but that line can look like a little plateau at first, and then slowly you'll see a upward trend, right? And yeah, like I've had to ask myself, who who am I really healing for? Because this affected more than just me, right? This affected my mom, my dad, my sister, my brother, and at, at, at this, like, my mom felt guilty for not seeing the signs earlier. And, she's a good mom. She wants me healed yesterday. And it's like, why aren't you better yet? And my sister, the same thing. Like, you're 2 years up. She's not in your life. Why aren't you better yet? Why? And as if that switch is like healing is a light switch. I wish it was, right?
Same.
Um, so it's accepting that I don't know how long it's going to take me. I know I'm healing, right? Oh, and another thing that has changed, I've I've stopped thinking of healing as fixing me,
Mm-hmm.
right? Um, I've started to look at it as reclaiming the things I've lost, right? Like, I need to reclaim myself. I'm not going to reclaim the same version of me I was 6 years ago or 7 years ago. I'm going to reclaim a stronger version of myself, right? And it's when I started looking at as reclaiming, like, it's little things. It like breaks it up into chunks. I had to, this last year I reclaimed Valentine's Day, for instance. Valentine's Day 2024 was not good. I like, um at the risk of delving into too much negative detail. Valentine's Day 2024, she asked me to finish the job. She gave me the knife and said, "Finish the job that you failed to do twice." February 2025, I'm out having a grand old time go-karting and just sit. We started off with a nice little dinner here and exchanged gifts. It was just a lot of fun, and I reclaimed little spaces of me that were gone. And I think that's what's changed for me in terms of what healing really means and is.
You can tell you have a really big heart, because I feel like we're so quick as a society to move on. And like you said, a year ago, you were, in a completely different situation than you were this past year. And yeah, I mean, I couldn't forget something like that right away, so I obviously that would still weigh heavy. So um, I commend you just for leading with your heart and, not allowing life to just let you forget, because I do feel healing is up and down and around, and you take 3 steps forward one day, 5 steps back the next, and life's not easy for anyone, but, I feel like you're making such, great, great moves to not just help yourself, but help others around you, and the book was really, I think, like, just such a poignant move for you to make because it's gonna connect you with people that are going through the same thing.
Yeah, and for a long I mean, I'm still angry.
Yeah.
Um, I was very angry, after, um I had no idea how to cope after I left that outpatient treatment, and I was literally, I would go out and have no idea how I came home, right? Um, so it wasn't until I met Katie, right, that, it's like, "Yeah, I went through some stuff," and, she'd be like, no brooding, brooding's for Batman," you know? And, um, it's like, "Okay, like, you went through some shit, and that's okay." And I look like, I don't see she would tell me, like, "I don't see the person your ex-wife saw. I see someone like, okay, you're autistic." Like, literally nobody cares, right? Um,
She saw your light.
yeah, and, like, I think the reason why I my perspective shifted so quickly was because I had her, and I mean, that's too much pressure to put on someone, right? Um, but she kind of forced me to reckon with myself and she was that reminder of like, something good, I and literally, I'll tell you, our life was full, in the short time that we had from, like, literally boat rides in the Cape to or on Cape Cod to going to Six Flags for Halloween and doing haunted Six Flags to, I'm a closet nerd, when it comes to things like like, I don't believe in the paranormal per se, but I'm open to the concept of it being, real. I'm healthy skeptic, so to speak, but I like there's a place here in Massachusetts called the Bridgewater Triangle, where allegedly a lot of paranormal stuff happens, and so she'd go with me and she would roll her eyes at me, and when I go on about something, like, she like, "I don't understand what the big deal is." She tell me, and, so, like, it's it's one of those moments where I needed to be reminded that I'm not who they said I was, and I'm a healthy skeptic when it comes to the religious side of life too, and so I don't know if the architect of the universe put her in my path to kinda, like, re bring me back to myself,
Mhm.
right? Um, I I often think about, like, it if she had lived, I and for whatever reason, we didn't work out romantically, right? I would have loved to just have had her in my life because of that positive net impact that she had. in my healing and in my recovery. And like she, I think she was the kind of person that gave so much of herself for everybody, and cared for the people around her, that kind of like really stuck with me. And I think it's part of her legacy that will continue to live on in me. It's being a positive net impact for the people around me, because that's who she was for everyone, not just me, but for everyone around her.
I'm sure she would be very proud to hear everything that you're saying. Um, yeah.
I my only piece of feedback for her would be, I wish she had seen that for herself when
Mm.
she was alive. And I would often tell her that she didn't see herself as worthy and things like that. And I'd remind her, like, you're pretty fucking amazing, or pretty amazing. Like, and I'm not just saying that because I love you. I'm just saying that because you really are.
It's so funny you're saying that because that made me, it reminded me of someone that just passed away in my life. That was a friend, and she had that very much same effect. And I honestly believe that people like them, like you said, are here to kind of like guide us or bring us back to ourselves. So in a way, like, whatever you believe in, but like, like an angel or something, very mythical and um, above our understanding. But I'm glad that she was that for you, and I'm glad that she was able to help bring you, back to yourself. Um, but for anyone listening, who may still be masked, who may still be silent, who may still be surviving, I know you've spoken a little bit about it, but what would you want them to hear today?
Right now, it sucks, right? Um, in terms of not understanding the masking, or not really understanding what's going on, or you're going through some stuff. Um, it really sucks. Um, for for people that are like on the spectrum and they don't know, like, look into it, research it. There's a phenomenal site called Autism Speaks, and they have a toolkit and a whole bunch of assessments you can do on your own. Get tested, look into it, uh, and there is no shame in that. In 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 getting tested or being autistic, it's mostly, I think, a superpower. It really, I think it is. Not because not because I'm autistic. It does come with its challenges. Um, like I can't do karaoke for prolonged periods of time without going outside, because I get stimulated. But you know, you can learn to work with it, right? Uh, if you're standing on the sites of somebody who is abusive and toxic, talk to someone you trust. It's hard, but I think evil thrives in silence, right?
Mm.
Uh, and then what, right? Um, if you're, if you were, or if you are where I once was, and like standing at the edge, thinking about stuff, um, don't. There's 988. Talk to somebody. There's no shame in that. Uh, and there's no shame in terms in getting help for that. It may mean a stay at a hospital. It may mean uh, intensive outpatient treatment, but do it. It's gonna suck. It's gonna hurt, but I remember, um, I think my second day at the psych ward, there was a woman who looked like my grandma, like literally same height and everything.
Wow.
Um, and she was pacing the hallway, just bawling her eyes out, um, and wailing. And I was like, man, she's crazy. Um, I wish I wasn't so quick to judgment because I I don't know what prompted me, but I think it was the next day. She was all right, but she was pacing, and I asked her, "Hey, how you doing today?" And she was like, "Don't speak English." And so I said, "Oh, what language do you speak?" She spoke Portuguese. I can understand Portuguese because Spanish is so similar. She told me about her son who just died,
Mm.
and she wanted to, and that was, I think, one of the most powerful moments for me because I immediately saw my mom in that moment. And so the last thing I'll say on the matter is, like, they say there's a saying that suicide is selfish, and that comes from people that don't understand what it's like to stand on the edge and be so exhausted for asking for help every day and not being heard, right? So I understand that exhaustion. It sucks or it sucks a lot.
You're
Um, uh, and so things like 988 or the Association for Suicide Prevention, talk to them. They're gonna put you in. I still do this. I'm part of this attempt survivor group. We meet almost once a week. Sometimes we skip during the holidays, but like talking to fellow survivors has been so helpful and transformative for me because they get it.
Yeah.
They've stood where I was with me, and so there are ways to get support around that from people who get it, and recovery is possible, and you'll be so glad you stayed.
Wow. Thank you so much. You have no idea how much I appreciate you even just sharing this. I can only imagine how hard it can be when you're, thinking about some moments or, when something comes up. So thank you, thank you, thank you. But I also want to know, what can we do as a community, to help someone? What's, something simple that, I can do that, the next person that listens to this podcast can do to help someone that may be in need of support.
I think the immediate reaction is, and we have the same reaction. We want to fix. We want to solve the problem. It's how we're wired. But think while the intent is good in wanting to fix, I think what could be more transformative and more powerful is just presence, right? And it doesn't mean like come fix my problems. It means just come sit with me, right? Um, or like if you're going to the grocery store, bring me with you. Don't talk about don't talk about their crap. Talk about anything else. Just be present like any other day. I think a that presence will be felt, and I think over time it'll lower people's defenses a little bit to want to talk about some stuff. you may not necessarily know what to do, what to say. Sometimes just listening is the most powerful thing you can do. And then just being honest, like, I don't know what to do. I don't know what to say, but like, I'm glad you're talking. I'm glad you got it out. And then just kind of like out of that presence, make suggestions like, oh, here's here's a resource for what you're going through. Like, just look at it, and maybe the fixing can come later after after that presence. But I think that initial presence could be so transformative to someone who's struggling, rather than being seen as a something to be fixed.
Yeah, I totally agree. Thank you for that. Thank you for sharing your story. Thank you for being here. Thank you for being so strong and really just being a beacon of hope for others that are going through something that is similar. But before you go, I would love for you to just let everyone know, where can they follow you, where can they find you, where can they buy the book, any of that. We'll leave that in the show notes as well. But yeah,
Yeah, I mean, yeah, you can buy the book wherever books are sold, like Barnes and Noble, wherever, or my website, carazas.com. Uh, I'm not very active on Facebook or Instagram. I have them. Where I'm most active is Substack. Uh, and so it's substack.com/at C Carazas. And yeah, so I write a lot of stuff there on a lot of different topics, on grief, on masking, on um, I have a weekly dispatch as if my dog was writing it, um, mainly making fun of myself for the week. It's more like a recap of, you know, life's been a little crappy this week, and then kind of making fun of myself through the eyes of my dog. Um, and And I also write about the little things that have been giving me hope. I call it the Gospel According to series, right? I've got like the Gospel According to coffee, the Gospel According to pickleball. Um, so some of them are funny. Some of them, or at least I think they're funny. Uh, Others are heavy. Others are just kind of, meh, it is what it is. So there's some range in there.
I'm definitely gonna have to check it out because I love coffee. We're gonna have to see what you wrote.
Yeah.
But okay, awesome. Yeah, thank you so much. I appreciate, once again, Christopher, being here. And we'll leave all the details in the show notes if anyone wants to follow, anyone wants to buy the book, or anyone wants to join his Substack.
Can I add a little something?
Please, yes, absolutely.
Um, so I have this Road to 2000 campaign, um, where for every 2,000 books sold, it unlocks $6,000 to go back into through organizations that are like near and dear to my heart. One of them is the Suicide Prevention Society. Um, the the other is autism support, and the last, and in honor of my lady, is the association for that helps people with eating disorders. And so two, so 6,000 will go, or 6,000 total, but then it'll get split 2,000 to each organization to help people get access to mental health services or autism support, for who necessarily can't afford to get access, right? So hopefully, and this, so hopefully the cycle repeats for every 2,000. My goal is to make it a worldwide thing, but I'm starting local in Massachusetts. Like they say, think locally, act globally. Um,
Yeah,
so,
beautiful.
um, so yeah, that's it. And uh, for every dollar that gets donated to these organizations, about $8 and social value is created. I did a whole analysis on it, and it's on my Substack too. Like they could see the breakdown of how that gets calculated. About 34, like for every $34,000 of social value is created. The return on investment is hopefully really good.
Yeah, that's beautiful, and the causes are amazing. I love that you're supporting those causes, and any way we can help at the podcast by spreading the awareness. If we need to create a link, we'll create a link. If we need to get people to buy the book, we'll do that. Any way we can help support, we're happy to do that. So
Hey, Devon, I really like the work that you're doing, and I think you got a really great platform yourself.
thank you. I really appreciate that, and honestly, it's all in giving back, sharing stories so that other people can hear them and be inspired and truly walk away with a lot more. I don't know, just knowledge, love, appreciation for whatever it is in life that they've got going on. So, thank you. I really do appreciate that a lot. So,
Yeah, and yeah, keep doing what you're doing, and it's I think you're just another trumpet in the orchestra of what I'm trying to do too. And there's many of us that are trying to make a positive impact in the world. So thank you for your platform as well.
thank you. Thank you for what you're doing. Like-minded people, I feel like, come together more often than not, and like I said, I'm happy to support in any way that I can. So, um,
Likewise, my friend.
thank you. I appreciate that. All right, guys, until next time, we will see you on the next episode. Please make sure you like and subscribe, and we will see you then. Bye-bye.
Bye. Take it easy.
Wow, Christopher's journey is truly remarkable. He has shown so much strength in releasing his book, Now That I'm Still Here. If you would like to keep up with Chris, check out his website at www.chriscarazas.com, where he has tons of information and even a Substack you can join. See you all for the next episode.
Hey guys, it's Icarus here.
And Amelia.
And I'm here to tell you if you'd like to join our brand new adventure. Go to DevonTaylorAuthor.com to learn more.
And check out the cool items like the new bucket hat.
Yeah, and so much more. See you guys there.